God gave rock and roll to you, gave rock and roll to you, put it in the soul of everyone.
Get ready, 'cause it's leaving, yeah. Ride this train. Ride this train.
Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of Area 312 Rock and Metal Podcast with your host, Mike, Rex, and myself, Kent. Friends, today, in introducing our very special guest, guys, we're celebrating an anniversary today of 40 years because it was in 1982 that the Altar Boys formed. They gave us anthems such as You Found Me, When You're a Rebel, Life Begins at the Cross, I'm Into God, and Ride This Train, and countless other songs. They had
Your love, your love.
You Are Loved. Can't forget that one, you
BLM.
know, to all the dreamers with abandoned dreams.
It's a good, yes.
And they still sound fresh today. From the early punk of Altar Boys to the punk tree Rockabilly of Altar Billies and the clash of cymbals in between. Mike and Rex, join me. Let's welcome our very special guest, Mike Stand. Welcome, Mike. It's great to
Good
have
to
you.
be here, everyone. Thank you for having me, and I mean that.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
It's an honor and a treat. We're fans, and it's an honor and a treat to have you. Thank you, good sir. And we know that you have a love for trains, and you know I took note
I
of that.
kind of
Mike.
like them.
That's right.
Weird.
The very first encounter the first song that came to my mind as you and I were kind of discussing was the song "Ride This Train" from
Yes.
Forever Mercy, and then of course Altar Billies. You have a slew of videos and songs about trains, and we're going to get into Altar Billies as we traverse down the tracks a little bit.
Oh, I like the way you said that.
Yes, sir.
Let's just not go off the rail.
That's right. But for now, Mike, let's start out at the train station where it
I
all
like that.
began. And would you mind sharing, Mike, how your love for music first began?
It's just innate. You know, you have nature and nurture. For me, it was just nature. I was attracted to music, and it's always been something I've loved. And the guitar. I wish we had a little more money. I talk to my kids. I'm a music teacher of how fortunate they are to have instruments in the district. And when I was a kid, we barely could afford me to have a little beat up little guitar, and I would see kids with clarinets and trumpets and wonder how I could get that or what I could do, or keyboards. So it's something I've always loved. All my brothers are musical. Oldest brother Roger played drums. My second oldest brother John was a very good blues guitar player, really just amazing. And he taught me a lot of things, a lot of chords, and work with me. And if I got it wrong, he kicked me. I always had to play rhythm guitar, and he played the lead. You know, they didn't have backing tracks, so I'd sit there for a half hour playing the blues while he jammed over the top. And my brother Kevin, of course, was a drummer, and he played for the Lifesavers.
That's right. He did with Mike Knott.
Yes, and Chris Wimber.
Yes. Was he on the Shaded Pain album?
He probably played on that. I don't after kind of Dream Life, I kind of lost track.
Okay.
I know he played on a couple. I don't remember what he
Was your brother Kevin? Did you say Kevin?
Kevin, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I know who he is, and I'm a Lifesavers fan, but I don't want to derail the train.
That's fine. But their first album was really good. I just loved it. I still love it. So fresh, so great.
Yes. Well, I'm a Lifesavers fan, so goodness.
Well, they should be acknowledged. They should be acknowledged by all of us.
That's
I got
right.
no problem with that.
How's it been since you came to him? What's it like starting over again? No more life from the evil one.
Mike, who were some of your personal musical influences then as you had your innate love for music? Who were some artists that you began to gravitate toward?
Well, yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, my musical background is very eclectic. You know, but growing up, obviously, you know, my love for the Beatles. I enjoy Grand Funk Railroad.
Oh yeah.
I enjoyed a lot of the early 50s, but I didn't have access to as much as you can get right now. Or, you know, if you didn't go down to a record store or didn't know someone had a collection, you couldn't get into a lot of the early Cochran or Eddie Cochran or Gene Vincent or some of the other Elvis Presley stuff that he did at Sun Records. So my introduction to that was not as good as it could be, but I had a love for 50s rock and roll. And, you know, a lot of the early 60s kind of trash rock I like too. David Bowie. When I heard David Bowie Starman, I just went, wow, who's this guy? This is terrific. But I mean, I ranged from Boston to Mozart, Beethoven, Tchaikovsky, some of the early jazz greats I love too. So I'm kind of all over the place.
I get it. I get it. Well, then let's gather a little bit of steam here. What about, Mike, your relationship with Christ? When did your journey with Christ first begin?
Well, early on, my family, we're really church going, except for my one grandmother, and we go to a Baptist church in Southgate. Yeah, that kind of began that journey and through high school. And then it was in the early 80s that I was attending First Baptist Church in Fullerton with my cousin Jeff and Bill. And, you know, I just decided this is something I need to do. I wasn't down and out or beat or like, well, not on drugs like the typical story is. And amen to those people that are, you know, redeemed from all that. I just felt I came to crossroads in my life that I needed to make a decision, and that my life was sinful and I needed Christ's help, and I still need it even more today, even more so.
So to our viewers out there, incidentally, some may not know that Mike had mentioned in his family Jeff, and that would be Jeff Crandall, who was the drummer with Altar Boys. And y'all were first
Jeff and
cousins.
Bill. Yes, Jeff and they're both brothers. And
okay.
Yes.
Mike, you mentioned that you grew up Baptist, and I did as well. And I'm always a little, you know, it's neat the journeys we all come from under the umbrella of Christ. And did you, as you developed, because Altar Boys began in roughly 1982. Did anybody?
Yeah, 81 actually. But
was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh no, who's counting, right? That's a long time ago.
Sure. Well, so did anybody from your church start to give you a little bit of guff, maybe from the Baptist church, about the music you were playing?
No, you know, I'll be honest with you, we didn't get a lot of pushback. Here and there. I mean, we attended First Baptist. That was our first concert, was First Baptist Church in July of 1982, and they were very supportive.
Wonderful.
A little shocked, but very supportive. From there, we did move to another church, and that particular church, we did get some pushback from one of the clergy there. But we decided, I moved to Calvary Church of Santa Ana. Dave Hawking was very supportive of what we're doing, and we just didn't get as much pushback as people would think. Occasionally, and we'd be very surprised. We were so busy doing it, and doors were opening so much for us that if I suppose if someone was protesting it, we were just kind of blind to it.
Yeah.
Like, well, whatever. Okay, we're busy.
I got you. Well, you were talking about doors opening. Your first album, Mike, you guys released it in 1984. It was the eponymous album.
The Fire album.
I was fixing it.
My wife took that picture.
Did she really?
Yeah.
Oh, Nancy took this picture?
Oh, Nancy took that picture.
That's a wonderful song, by the way. And I noticed all your, I think it's your publishing. It's Oh Nancy or something like that.
Yeah, for the first album, yes. I got it right starting out, and then after that, I kind of went off the rails.
All righty. So your first album, your eponymous album, released in 1984. Mike, how long did it take for you guys to nail this album, to get it done from top to bottom?
I'm into God. That's what I said, man. I'm into God, and He really loves you. I'm into God. That's what I said, man. God is into me.
Well, most of the songs all the songs we were doing live. So it was a matter of taking what we did live and take them into the studio and do them. You know, I kind of vaguely remember that record. So we laid down the basic tracks live pretty much with just a scratch vocal. And then I came back and I believe I did the vocals, maybe 60 hours, but a lot of that time was spent those guys talking in the control booth. I'm like, we're out here for an hour or two and it's hot. Can we like rotate? Oh yeah. So that was kind of that going on. But I believe we nailed most of it live. Maybe Steve did overdubs with the lead, maybe 60 hours. All told, 60 hours us playing, plus their 30 of whatever they were doing in the control booth, 90.
I got you.
It's truth.
Let me ask you then.
I'm a no nonsense kind of guy. It's time to work. It's time to work.
That's right. Yes, sir. So let me ask you, Mike, we'll talk. I keep wanting to pass these albums to you guys. I don't know why. There's When You're a Rebel. I came on board with this album right here, Gut Level Music. And it was 1986 in Galesburg, Illinois. And I'm pretty eclectic, like you were saying, with musical tastes, but trying to find Christian-oriented music that rocked back then in 86. I mean, I was just hungry. I was a headbanger, but I was hungry for anything that rocked. And I saw that guitar, the quintessential guitar right there of Michael W. Stan, the Gut Level Music guitar. Friends, I asked Mike if he named this guitar ever, and he said, no, it doesn't have a name. So maybe and it's the one.
My guitar.
It's the telly hanging up behind him.
It's the telly. Oh, this side. Yeah, this side right here.
And there it is. And, Mike, it's funny. You mentioned earlier, you were talking about, couldn't hardly afford a beat up guitar. And then that telly's seen a few licks in its time, I'm sure. But
yes.
So I wanted to ask you, I came on board during this era of the Altar Boys right here, during that album. But Steve, pronounce Steve's last name for me?
Steve Paneer.
Paneer. I had no idea coming on at this stage that Steve Paneer was a member of the band but I kept seeing his name in the liner notes and stuff. And so it wasn't until the collection that I'm like, well, this is Steve Paneer. So I've often described Steve as the Mandela effect with the Altar Boys. Now you see him, now you don't.
Yes.
What's the story with Steve?
Oh, sometimes he just changed his mind.
Okay.
Oh, we laugh about it. He just sometimes just felt like it was time to leave and then time to come back. Then disappear again. Then disappear again. He'd come back.
All right. Well,
so we laugh. I mean, Steve lives real close to me, and we get together quite often, and we laugh about it. He goes, "That's right. Did I play that one? Oh, that's the time I was gone. Oh yeah. So
Steve, when I saw him in some pictures, I mean, he looked like the quintessential rock star.
oh, he is. He's awesome.
Yeah.
I can be an acquired taste sometimes. So I'm told.
So I have a question, Mike. How did you get a record deal? What were the circumstances with that and that first album?
Well, the first one was MRC, and we didn't really have a deal. They just provided the funds to do that and the platform to release it. The next one was Maranatha Music, which was Rebel. We were signed to them, and then out of that, Jim Kempner worked with Maranatha, and then it just kind of naturally flowed. It's nothing we really had to push.
Okay.
Because they were saying that we were active and busy, and God was using us, so it made sense to them.
Just a good fit, and
we it was nothing we really had to push. I mean, when we first started after the first concert, we were already playing. July 1982 led to like 5 to 10 a month concerts we would do or more.
Well, I'll tell you, Mike, that album that Kent's holding up right there, Altar Boys, When You're a Rebel, that's the one that got my attention. I was a teenager at the time, probably in my late teens, and I was starting to take seriously my walk with God, and really in a position where pretty much all my friends and pretty much everybody around me wasn't living that way, and so I found myself in the position of having to try and uphold a standard that none of my peers were into.
Yeah.
And really the kind of music you guys were doing wasn't a kind of music that I had ever really been into. I was into hard rock and metal, and
yes,
but back in those days, the Christian bookstores, they'd have these listening stations, and you could go and you could listen to something, and for whatever reason I listened to that, and I liked the edgy guitar stuff in there.
Well, that's good.
And that's the reason I bought it. And I started listening to that, and that whole album just really resonated with me. The whole concept of When You're a Rebel was resonating with where I was at in my life at that time, to be a rebel for God,
yes,
to be different than what the world wanted you to be, and so at that moment in that time, that was just the perfect album for me.
It came out real good. And we had that when I wrote When You're Rebel, I was like,
Yeah.
ooh, can I say rebel? Ooh, that rebel being rebellious in the Bible is not good. So I had to check with some of my friend pastors, say, this is what I kind of said, when you're a rebel, is that okay? So we kind of redefined it. Oh, that's good, because it's such a good line. I really want to change it to anything.
Yeah.
Don't be a rebel. And I think, I had scratched that out as a possible lyric, but that album came out real good, and it was real enjoyable to make. Billy Badstone worked with us, and Mark Hurd mixed it, and it was a real fun record to make. It was really enjoyable. We liked the way that one came out. I mean, it's really powerful, noisy. Yeah. It was exactly as I envisioned it. A step up from the first album, which was a little more raw, a little simplistic. This one was like right in your face.
Yeah.
And the Rebel was good. It did well for us, and it said what we wanted to say and came out exactly as I hoped it would.
Yeah.
Well, to quote you, Mike, you got to say it like it is, man.
Yes.
So When You're a Rebel.
Yeah, the Rebel was real good. It was powerful record. He
So
Knows You Better's on there, I think, and Rick's Does God's Heart Cry?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of great
Difference
songs
in
on
Me. That's a
this.
good one too.
I'm
I
Into
like
God.
that one. The what? I'm into God reprise. Yeah, the reprise. A little.
Yeah.
We added a fourth verse.
That's right.
I do those kind of things.
But the interesting thing about this is that the original or the initial You Found Me is on this one.
Yeah.
And I never knew that, you know, because I bought this one first. This is the first one I found,
Yes.
and then I had to backtrack several years later. But the growth that you guys had from here to here and then to here is pretty amazing, Mike, in just a few short years.
Well, we practiced a lot. And then I realized I could write songs. You know, when I started this band, I was not going to be the main songwriter. We're hoping to get somebody else to do it. I was just kind of filling in a pinch. And it just kind of fell together that I guess I was the guy.
Just tune in, you will see. A life set free. Listen to me. I'm not talking about religion. I'm not talking about history. I'm not talking about going to church. No, that's not Christianity. I'm not talking about science. I'm not talking about politics. I'm not talking about shit. Now I'm talking about God, that's relationship. Oh yeah.
I noticed, of course, again, this being my first encounter with you guys, and like Mike was saying, I was a headbanger, still am, but I just saw this album cover, and I'm talking about the cassette tape, and I'm like, well, this looks very intriguing. And it wasn't heavy metal, but it was different. I never knew what punk rock was at the time. I never heard the Ramones or anybody until much later. But I also have to say, with this album, Mike, it seems like you guys, in retrospect, with songs like You Are Loved and There Is a Love, you guys were starting to veer just a little bit away from the punk rock and kind of going into a blue collar, every man's rock vibe, at least in my ears, on a few songs. And there are so many classic songs on this album. And it's only GLM, and I like it.
Come and see what I see. Man, I tell you there is no other way. You want life, real life. Let Jesus find you like he found me. 'Cause you found me. 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 You found me.
Well, when we knew when it was finished that it was special. We just kind of looked at each other, and when we listened back to the mixes and went, okay, this works. This is a real nice. This is all balanced. You got the heavy stuff. You got some lighter things to balance things out. You know, There Is a Love, and I Question It, and it just all worked real nice. Fit real nice together.
So I've got to ask you about the Donna Summer cover that her and Michael Lomardian did, Unconditional Love. What was the catalyst for covering that song?
Well, I think some of the bands Undercover and some others were covering songs, and we thought, well, we need to do a cover song. What are we gonna do? And I don't know. It came on, and I listened to it and went, I wonder if it was popular at the time. I wonder if we can do something with that one. So I brought it in, and we just messed with it. We might have messed with some other ones, but that one stuck and said, okay, this works. Let's see what we can do to use it. It's that simple.
Gotcha.
Was it your idea for the album cover
Yes.
for that, Mike? Okay.
Yes, with my
Because like
idea.
Ken said,
One of the few
that is
ideas
just-
that worked.
that is just a classic.
I know.
That's just a classic cover. I mean,
Yeah,
you can't forget that.
I'll take the credit for that one. Not much
Okay.
more, but that one was my idea, to have the hand kind of shadowing over the top of it, and the gut level music. It was one of our road crew stage manager, John Stoddard, who came up with the lettering for that. That's really just paper over the top. And then I said, you could just draw that in my guitar. And so he eventually did. But yeah, that I remember the sessions for that. It just going over and over again, like 10 times, 15 times till we got that right.
So many great songs on that album.
Yeah, it's a good record.
Incidentally,
Good one.
Mike, back in the late 90s, because, you know, thank goodness for Rock's Records and Youre Records and Boone's Overstock that are doing remasters and stuff. But in the 90s, you know, coming from the 80s and then in the 90s, these things a lot of times went out of print. But I paid $50 for this CD to get it on CD because I loved it so much back in the day.
$50 for that CD?
I did, this very CD back in like 1996 or 7.
Wow.
You know, when the internet was kind of young, the AOL dial-up, but Cross Rhythms, I think, is where I got that from on CD. But now this little gem right here, I picked up in Wheaton, Illinois. My little band played at True Tunes one time there, and I had it on cassette, and they had it in their store. And boy, I snatched this up. 1987's Against the Grain. To me, it kind of continues in that blue collar rock vibe, which is so wonderful. Mike, would you agree or disagree with me that you guys were kind of on some of the material kind of getting away a little bit from the punk roots? Am I mistaken, or would you think that's...
Well, you got to remember, Heart Lost and Nowhere is on that record, and so is Against the Grain.
Right.
That's punk. That's punk rock to me.
Okay.
And those are the shining moments. And Shout Louder and Take Control. Of course,
I love this album. I'm just saying, I just see where you guys weren't.
You know, we weren't pure punk. We weren't pure punk rock. So we weren't like the Germs or, you know, I mean, even the Ramones had their, you know, their little pop gems. So we just figured if they could do it, we could do it too. And I just wrote it. I just wrote songs. They just kind of came out. Okay, this is Fallen World. Yeah, it's not a punk tune, but I like what it says, and I think it'll work for us.
And it did.
And so I didn't always necessarily have, well, I got to stick with this type of thing. I mean, you know, then we slowly veered away with Forever Mercy to a different thing, which was not totally my decision. But, you know, like Broken, I wrote in 1984, 85. I wrote that real early, but we didn't put it on GLM or Rebel. I think I had it written by Rebel, or I was writing it in the middle of Rebel. So I just, you know, little tunes or melodies that come to me, and I felt I had to say something, and it came out the way they came out. And yeah, that's just how we did it.
For my money, proverbially speaking, you guys never released a bad album. And
I appreciate that. I might beg to differ, but I appreciate that.
So when you write a song, Mike, when you craft a song, do you typically, is it music first and then lyrics, or sometimes are the lyrics there and you craft a melody fitting what you're trying to say?
Yes.
All the above?
Yeah, it comes differently.
Whatever works.
Differently.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just get lucky and come up with one line and go, ooh, what was that? Ooh, that's nice. Heart Lost and Nowhere. Youre Loved. And often songs come out just blah, 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 until I figure out something. And different ways. They just come different ways. Maybe I'll come up with the lead line first. It's never a kind of a set formula. Although I like verse, chorus. I do like that.
Well, I'm hoping, this is a side note, and this is to our friends out there who do the music and everything as far as releases and remasters. I hope somebody will get with Mike and company. And I mean, would love to have remasters of all these albums, incidentally. But,
well, you got to remaster GLM.
Yes, I remember that did. But there's a whole slew of other Altar Boys.
That's true.
albums.
That's a good point. Well, I do have When You're a Rebel. We got those, and then you got my Do I Stand Alone. That was a fun record to make. That was a Rob Watson. But that was a hard year. That was 1988. That was a hard year for me. was a lot going on.
Well, what can you let us know about that's not too we
Personal?
don't dig up dirt or anything.
I think I tried to analyze it a bit. I think when I got into this, you're naive. You don't know. You might have some preconceived ideas of what it will be like, but you don't have a complete picture. And once I was in the middle of it, it was like, mackerel, what? It's just, we were just going and doing and trying to balance everything. And it was very difficult. It was taxing. So we did Against the Grain. You got to realize we're not like a lot of bands that were able to take 2 months and go into the studio, and we had to be playing in between and think about other things. And we didn't have much of a budget.
Mike,
I'm smarter now.
Should we ask your friend and fellow Union Pacific member Jamie Cramer if he knows any hardships of the road? Hey, Jamie.
Jamie? Hi, Jamie.
Hello, Mike. How are you?
Good.
Okay, good.
Hey, welcome, Jamie.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. So Mike, we're gonna make a pit stop here at the train depot.
I like that.
Jamie blessed us with an episode, and you're blessing us with an episode. And friends out there, you might remember Jamie is with the Union Pacific Railroad. Now,
yep.
Mike, I'm going to let you tell the story about you hanging signs out of your classroom.
Well, your train, maybe LA 32 goes by Kennedy School, and it's a real treat Monday morning. I'm there Monday, and every time it goes by, I at least make the kids stand up and salute. But I don't think you're driving though, and you have different engineers.
No,
Some of the guys, like, I'll hang out a sign when I can and say good morning, but a lot of times I'm in the middle of a classroom and a little of teaching. But that is a real treat to have that go by, and all the kids I talk about Union Pacific, and I have a few songs about Union Pacific. Wrote a song about the big boy, and it's a real treat to have that go by. But I don't know if I see you inside there. Jamie, are you inside there, or are you mostly kind of at the office?
I'm their manager, so I'm at the office and organizing all the work that's done every day.
Well, I go by when it goes by, I tell the kids, now that's a box car. We count the cars and sometimes it's like one day went by on a Thursday, which a couple weeks ago I was very surprised by that. So,
Yeah.
Getting a special delivery. Am I right about that? It was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so we have a customer called Bear Paint, and they were out of product, so we had to make a special trip.
Jamie, I think you got to sit a little closer to your microphone because you.
But I did hear him. You had a customer out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it is really cool. And I'm just like, I guess I'm sort of what they call guys that love trains so much foamers.
Yeah, they do, actually. That's funny you say that.
So I'm a total foamer. I really am. I mean, that thing, I hear it. And sometimes when LA 32 comes by and you hear the bells or the whistle, the kids go, uh-oh. Here he goes. Everybody stand up. Salute the train.
So, Jamie, why are train fans called foamers?
So if a dog is super excited or somebody's super excited about something, they foam at the mouth. So
Right.
that's just been a term that railroaders have blessed rail fans with. And it's really funny. We have, so I had an engineer, actually, he used to be on the LOA 32 that retired. And then he went to City of Industry on a job. He has one of the largest model railroads, I think, in the country. He's told me he's got well over $100,000 invested in this thing, and it's got signals and it's quite a thing. And so what he does, he told me that he would have once a month have people come up and they would be dispatchers and somebody would print train orders and they go through the whole exercise and like it's a real thing. So yeah, it's we have a lot of rail fans that work at the railroad, but I've always said to if you want to fix a rail fan from being a rail fan, give him a job at the railroad.
Yes. Yeah, I can't imagine. Yeah, that's why from a distance, it's real great to see, but I know there's a few other things going on there besides that.
Yeah.
Rex and
Do your engineers ever see my signs and go, what? Got a crazy guy at Kennedy School sticking out a sign?
No, they appreciate it.
They've seen it. Okay.
We've had a couple guys on that job previously that would bring dog biscuits and feed the dogs along the way, and so it breaks up their day. They enjoy that kind of stuff when the kids wave.
Yeah, they go out of school and the kids go crazy, but it's fun. But you have different engineers. Some of your engineers just kind of look straight ahead. I noticed that, and others kind of ways. So you have different personalities going on there.
Right.
Do I have that right?
Mike, I guess the three of us are foamers then, because when it comes to having our guests such as Mike and Jamie, right? We're all happy and excited.
Oh yeah.
So, friends out there, viewers, I got to say, and it's awesome that Jamie. It's awesome we can have Mike, and it's awesome we had Jamie before, and that Jamie came on, because here's the deal: when I was trying to to broker this interview date and time with Mike Stand, he was telling me, he's like, sure, I'll come on. And he said, hey, I noticed you had Jamie Cramer of Holy Soldier. And he said, yeah, he said, he's with Union Pacific. And Mike goes, I'm a fan of trains. And I'm like, yes, Mike, I do recall. And I know with the Altar Billies, you write a lot of songs about trains. Well, friends, Mike wasn't kidding, because he sent me, there's an online article that features Jamie, and Mike sent me that article, and I'm reading this article. I'm like, Mike Stand really is a fan of trains, and he knew about this article with Jamie.
When I saw that, I went, whoa. Yeah, Jamie, I was just thinking about that. You managing that train, me liking the Union Pacific, it going by Kennedy. Anyway.
funny, small world.
It's kind of weird because, which I love so many different forms of what we call Christian rock and Christian metal, but never in my life, Rex and Mike, would I'd ever thought we'd be sitting here with Mike Stand and Jamie Cramer, kind of from two different genres under the same umbrella. It's kind of like surreal. So, but very cool.
Well, it is. It is great, Jamie. I mean, you Holy Soldier was awesome. I think you guys are about the same time we were, but you were doing the metal, and we were kind of bringing in different or ministering to different crowds, sort of. I mean, we'd see you go, okay, yeah, that's pretty cool. We play faster than I do, that's for sure. So, but we were around about the same time, right?
Yeah.
Like 80, 85, 86.
Yep.
I started about 84, I think.
Yeah, we started, we put the band together in 85.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that we were just ministering to different group of people, more or less, but was really cool that both different genres could kind of exist, doing different things musically, but with the same ministry ideas in mind, and that's really great.
Sure. Yeah. You just look, they're all vehicles to reach out to the people that need to hear it. And there's different vehicles, right? Some are Lamborghinis, some are Ferraris, and so to reach the masses, you have to address their taste in music. And I think the way it works is, we're all drawn to certain types of music for a reason. And growing up, I mean, it's funny, I've always loved all kinds of music, funk, jazz, I was really into alternative music, Depeche Mode, I dug the Stray Cats, but as far as what I enjoyed to play led me down my path. But but I think it's great. It's like everybody has their genre that they are attracted to as far as being a musician, and God uses that.
Yeah, and you played through Marshall, so you know.
Mesa Boogie, Marshall. Yeah, I had a rack full of all kinds of stuff. But
Yeah, see, I had Marshalls too, but your Marshall sounded probably a little different from my Marshall.
well, it's funny. We were talking the last interview about some of the gear you wish you still had, and an old Plexi Marshall that was hot rodded, by some cat in LA, and I wish I still had some of that stuff, but. Yeah.
You still got your Marshall though, and you still got your.
I got
guitar.
one. This isn't the one I had back in the day, but yeah, I still have that. I've got the Fender. I've got the Spider. So yeah, I'm well equipped.
Yeah, you got an arsenal there. It even looks loud.
I'm just seeing Mike's collection of guitars, and Jamie, I'm seeing yours, and I think your new Randy Rhoads acquisition back there.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, Mike and Rex, but I'm salivating over Mike Stan's and Jamie's guitars. I think I'm sitting here looking at historical figures right here that I love growing up, both of you guys and your bands, and seeing your guitars. It's just pretty awesome.
I'm gonna fit in here.
Well, that's a nice guitar. Like I said, I'm just a caretaker.
Yeah.
And these are my tools that I use. This one I used on my new one, CNO 1309. You heard about that, Jamie? The 1309?
No.
Chesapeake in Ohio. They restored the last Mallet made in America.
Okay.
From the Baldwin factory. Yeah, it's out in Maryland.
So I have a funny story for you. So the big boy that we restored, I was in charge of getting it out of the fairgrounds when it was the longest day I've ever had on the railroad because I had to respond.
You work with Ed.
Yeah. So we had to drag it out, and they had to lay track panels across the parking lot and slowly walk that thing because it had been in on display for many years, right? So
since 1961, yeah.
Yeah, so they had to lay panels. It was all engineered, and walk this thing to where they got it to the Metrolink track.
And then put a switch in. You had to put a switch in.
We had to put a switch in, and then we brought road power in, and then we had to transport it to West Colton so it could be transported to Cheyenne to be rebuilt. So I was in charge of the movement of that thing.
You guys realize that he was in charge of that? You were in charge.
Well, I wasn't in charge of the whole project, but I was assigned to make sure it was moved properly. So yeah, it was a long 2 days. I didn't sleep for 2 days getting that thing to West Colton, but it's a magnificent thing.
Oh, well, yeah, it's really magnificent. It's funny because when Union Pacific took that over, I believe it was late October from Rail Giants. We had the day before they took it over, we had filmed our song Ballad of the Big Boy on 4014. And then the next day, Union Pacific put their caution tape and you couldn't get near it. So I don't know if you've got a chance to see that video at all.
No, I haven't. I'll check it out though.
I mean, it's fun. So we got an hour and a half from Rail Giants that said you can go any place you want on the Big Boy, which is now Ed's Choo Choo, right?
Yeah.
Talking about Ed Dickens. Ed Dickens heads the steam. Historical steam for Union Pacific in Cheyenne, where they still have all the foundry and everything from originally from the day. Everything is still there where they restore locomotives and take care of them.
Yep.
So we were able to get on the deck of it and all over the thing and film it. And then, like I said, the next day, had we waited one more day, we wouldn't have gone on there because Ed took it over and nobody touches Ed's Choo Choo.
No. He's very possessive of his equipment.
But wow, not the knowledge of this guy, Ed Dickens.
Lost art.
Locomotive. Unbelievable.
Well, let me ask.
It is a lost art. And you can't even foundry that. You can't even put together that frame. They don't have places to make the frame of the Big Boy anymore. It cost millions and millions to do it. It's just unbelievable. See, I'm foaming at the mouth. Got me talking about trains. So
that's okay. While Jamie's still with us, I do want to ask, because you mentioned, Mike, your song Ballad of the Big Boy, and also to kind of let Jamie know, I think it's also labeled as Titans of the Wasatch.
Yeah, it used to go over the Wasatch Mountains. That
Okay.
was it mainly from Ogden, Green River, Cheyenne. It mainly pulled up that grade called Sherman Hill.
Yeah.
That they often had to use the Challenger locomotives, 2 of them, but they needed one steam locomotive. So that's why they built the big boy. It was originally called Titans of the Wasatch, and someone at the plant, Elko, inadvertently put big boy on the front of it, scrawled it in chalk. I mean, Jamie knows the story. I'm telling Jamie knows. He works for the railroad. I mean, so, and that stuck. And so I put both on there because it's the Wasatch Mountains that it goes over. But that's a lot. That's a word salad to say Titans of the Wasatch. Big boy is just like big boy. I mean, there you go, man.
Now, Mike, with modern technology, both of you guys know a lot better than I. But boy, somebody who loves trains as much as you, Mike, wouldn't it be awesome if you only knew a guy who was with Union Pacific who played a main guitar to guest on a song for Altar Billies?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Like Jamie
Definitely.
Kramer? That would be awesome.
Takes me a long time to do these overdubs. So that'd be great sometime, Jamie.
Well,
That'd be great. That'd be wonderful.
Jamie, I'm not rushing you off, but I want to thank you so much for coming on. And Mike, I hope it was a blessing that Jamie came
Oh, it's
on.
huge. You kidding me?
I couldn't help it when you were telling me, when you showed me the article on Jamie, and I read every word, but I'm like, Mike really loves trains. And so I thought it was cool that you knew about Jamie. So I messaged Jamie and I said, Jamie, we have this, I'm a big fan of Mike Stan and Altar Boys. And I think it would be a blessing to Mike if you could come on and y'all could talk shop for a minute about trains. And so double blessing, you guys.
Just let your engineers know that I may not always hang out a sign, and I'm not that weird. I just I'd like to acknowledge that they're there and who they are. And I tell the kids that we need to appreciate what the railroad does in this particular railroad line and how they service. And it's more than just this big mechanism going by. And even if I don't hang out my sign, know that when they come by on a Monday or Wednesday, well, Monday or Thursday, do another Thursday again, that I'm up there, and the kids are, if I don't hang out a sign, they're probably saluting and singing the Union Pacific song.
What do you teach?
And learning about the railroad and America. A lot about America, a lot about our country, both.
Do you teach history, Mike?
I teach a history of this country through songs.
I got you. Well, I meant
through
your
all the patriotic
classroom.
songs and through and railroad songs.
Okay. All right. Jamie, I don't know your schedule. You're welcome to hang. We're gonna keep the trainer rolling through Mike's catalog, and you're welcome to hang, or if you need to go on to other things, it's your choice.
I appreciate the time, and Mike, thank you for letting me hang out. And
Jimmy, it's a pleasure, and much respect to you and your job and everything you're doing and your history as well.
All right.
You're an amazing thing, amazing guitar player. And wow, you work for the railroad.
They've been good to me, I can tell you that.
I think you made somebody's day, Jamie.
Union Pacific Railroad. Yep. And check out the Big Boy when you got a chance. The Ballad of the Big Boy. I think you'll get a little smile on your face. It's real fun.
I will.
Jamie, thanks for blessing us, friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good one.
How cool was that? That was awesome.
That was very cool.
That was really cool. Thank you, guys. That was a real treat.
Oh, you're welcome.
I
just wondered if they didn't think I was half crazy. What kind of guy hangs out a sign? I mean, I tell my band members, and they just like, Mike.
Do you ever talk?
There's guys that like trains, and then there's you.
Do you ever talk with Jamie, Mike, or?
I never have. I've never. Like I said, our musical styles were so different. We didn't cross paths,
right?
Because there was Holy Soldier and Striper. Occasionally, I'd see the Striper guys, occasionally they come to our show or we run into them, but our paths never crossed just because they were so busy doing over here what they were doing, and they had their set of groups that they were playing with, and we were kind of over here. I kind of acknowledged, oh yeah, Holy
Sure.
Soldier, yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
How they doing over here, But
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, Mike. I don't know a lot about the railroad, but I know the town that I'm originally from literally exists because of the railroad. So I'm originally from Bismarck, North Dakota, and Bismarck sits on one side of the Missouri River, and Mandan, North Dakota sits on the other side of the Missouri River. And they were building a train bridge across there, and both of those cities grew up because of the railroad coming through there.
I think Burlington Northern goes through there.
Yeah, and
I could be wrong.
And yeah, I'm pretty sure they do.
Yes,
but I just know the railroad historically was very important to that area that I'm from. So,
Well, I grew up in Missouri, Jefferson City, and the railroad goes straight through there. And I
Union
remember
Pacific and Burlington Northern. Yeah.
walking with my Paul, my grandfather, I called him Paul, and we took many a walk along the railroad tracks. And I remember all the coal that used to spill out of the coal car, and I used to pick it up, and I knew I was rich one day because I found gold on this coal. And my grandfather, my pa, tried to tell me that was fool's gold or iron pyrite,
Yes.
And but no, I knew better. I found real gold, and I was going to be rich, But anyway, Mike, I so thankful for Jamie blessing us, and thank you, Jamie. It blessed me, just like I'm sure it did everybody.
That was awesome.
Mike, this album was a blessing in 1988. I absolutely loved it. And I know we were discussing this when Jamie came on board. Now, to my ears, this was something of it kind of had a more of a Springsteen-ish, John Cougar Mellencamp Americana-ish vibe. It still rocked, but in a different way. But so many great songs. And I remember this album, various songs being all over the charts in CCM back in the day. Do you feel that this album,
I didn't want to do Altar Boys. Yeah, I didn't want to do Altar Boys. I wanted to do something different musically.
Yeah.
So, and I just, bare my soul. Maybe a little bit too much. I don't know, but
it was great.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
Kind of going through some stuff. A little discouraged on some things. And coming to some realizations, coming to some, I don't want to say aha moments, but just, interesting. Wow.
Well, I love this album.
Yeah, I do too. I like it. I like To Give It All Is Everything. I like Do I Stand Alone. I like Simple Truth. And whenever I do solo, not love, I usually play Simple Truth. I like that one.
It's a wonderful album. Kudos for that.
Thank you.
This was a great album. Picked this one up in Kansas City when I back in 1989. And again, kind of an Americana-ish vibe as far as an alternative Americana vibe. But another great classic, but we get Ride This Train.
Told the train was coming, engine a steel, spirit of lightning, hold a fireplace for me. I knew that's where I wanted to be. Ride this train, ride this train.
Now, Mike, that classic song, and it kind of had that Bo Diddley shuffle beat that goes so well with maybe a train locomotive wheel spinning. Was that due to your love of trains back then? The catalyst?
Yeah, I hadn't written a train song, and I just kind of came up with that line, and then the Bo Diddley. Steve Griffith helped me to finish it off. It was, we had just come off the road with the Garmon Key and started that record, and it was time to do another record, another year, another record. And so he helped to finish a few of the songs off, Forever Mercy, that one, and I think a few other ones, because you know, we didn't really have the time to write, and I'd done a solo record in 1988. So yeah, my first attempt at a train song.
Talk to me a little bit about being on the road with DeGarmo and Key. We just talked to Eddie DeGarmo last week.
They're real nice people. They're real good
Yeah.
to us.
Yeah.
You're real good to us.
Yeah.
That was hard. That was hard for 3 months being away from our families. 1988, I was gone 6 months out of the year, and I did that solo record. And after that, I said, we got to change something. I can't do this again. It's too much. But they were good. That was 88 when we were on the road with them. Yeah, 88. And we went down to South America. We were, well, I don't know how we did it. Makes me tired thinking about it. They were good people, though. All of them were real nice to us. Very amicable.
That's good.
Well, where were you at then, Mike, in 1990? To me, this album had a little bit of just a hint of a Britpop edge to it. Rick Elias co-produced this. I started noticing the Rickenbacker guitars. I knew of Rick Elias. I had his Rick Elias in the Confessions album, and then later 10 Stories. And he was also a ragamuffin with Rich Mullins, as we all know. How did you meet up with Rick Elias, Mike, and kind of where were you at going into this album as far as your headspace?
On and on, see the world I've left behind. On and on, see the sunset in your eyes.
Well, I got my Rickenbackers. Finally was able to get one. And I thought leaving Do I Stand Alone in that statement, I needed to take it a step further and show some healing in my life. And I think that's what this record did. Not that I was in a bad place with Do I Stand Alone, just struggling with some things. And I vocalized that. Just want you guys to know that, and the audience to know that. But, Simple Expression, I came with the idea of, it isn't big events that make you who you are. It isn't the big things in life. It's the little things that put together. And I really believe that today. Probably the best line, one of the best lines I ever come up with is, it's all the little things that make us what we are. It's all those little things in our lives, all those little events that we just kind of blow off. It's not going on the 2-week vacation necessarily Europe that changes your life, or the 1-week men's retreat. Those are all good, but it's the little things that come in, and the little things about us that add up to who we are and what we are and how we experience. And that's what I tried to communicate. And it's I use that line several times within that record. It was a good record to make. I met Rick through Frontline. I originally was going to have Rob produce this record, and he couldn't. And Rick Elias was really the hot item at Frontline, and he was very close to, similar musically to what I was doing. And so we used his band on the record to record it. And then Rick Alba came in and did some piano things, Whisper in the Morning, which was, I really like that song. And then we recorded a lot of it at Derry Doherty's studio. Derry was very, very gracious to let me use his studio. And at some portions along the line, Rick, the album went a little longer than expected, and I went ahead and had to do a lot of the overdubs by myself. And they were doing tape back then, So I'd stand. I remember Derry would take off for tour, and they give me the keys to his studio. And I just remember standing there with the tape machine, a vocal, literally doing my vocal overdubs and the harmonies by myself. And then I think Rick came back, and we mixed the whole thing. I'm really happy with the way that record came out.
And you're talking about Rick Alba?
Well, Rick Alba came in and did some things, helped out with it. He did
Oh, I'm
piano.
sorry,
But Rick Elias
okay, I
came
got-
back and mixed it. Rick Elias came back and he was out on the road for a while I was, and then I don't remember when it came out. When did that come out? 1990.
Yeah, this was not.
Yes.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
And then we were able to use some of those songs for the Altar Boys. We always played. I don't remember the name of the song. we put together all everything up to a standalone and Footsteps of Love.
Yeah.
And sometimes we did Follow You.
Yeah, great songs, great songs. I Melt Into You was always I thought a choice cut from this album too. I thought it rocked pretty good.
that was a good one. A little high. The songs are kind of high. Getting the A's and things. Wow. Whew.
So, I avid fan of the Altar Boys since first picking up Gut Level Music and then backtracking and all that. And then this little gem came out and it had some neat remixes by Terry Taylor on here. And of course, this was my introduction though. It's like I got to see Steve Pannier for the first time. And I'm like, he looks like a total rock star movie star.
Oh, he is. It still is, man. That guy, he's got it together, man. He just.
Burn all the worries of days gone by. Promises of gold that are empty lies. Burn all the pain and isolation. Living in a world that's always changing. I see the worries of the world burning. Burning in a fire that'll never end.
He's got that look. He's got it, man.
Mike, do you ever get to talk to Rick Alba anymore? Do y'all ever?
Yeah, occasionally, sure.
Okay.
He's busy. I stay more in touch with Jeff.
Yeah.
And Steve.
So let me ask you at this juncture then, because my next Altar Boys album is live from Cornerstone, and you guys tore it up on this thing. It was awesome. But let me stop right here though, because this was a 1991 release, and during that time, I never knew where my favorite bands were at. We didn't have social media like we did today, and you had magazines and stuff. But Mike, this was the last I heard of Altar Boys for quite a while. But for the sake of this interview and the flow here, a friend of mine back in 1994 or 95 probably, he had a Christian magazine called Crosswalk. And back then you phoned up interviews, and he knew what an avid Altar Boys fan I was. But you were in Clash of Cymbals now. I remember he allowed me to initiate the interview, and you were telling us back then in 95 with this Clash of Cymbals interview that Altar Boys was scheduled to record another album called No Substitute. But it never was, it never came to fruition. And of course, I was so disappointed. I do remember though that I asked you, I said, well, Mike, what is the main difference between Clash of Cymbals and Altar Boys? And I will never forget this quote because it stuck with me all these years. You said, Altar Boys had the gospel on their fists, whereas Clash of Cymbals held it in the palm of their hands. And I just thought that was a remarkable quote. What I'd like to ask you about Clash of Cymbals, you all had Sundays and Altogether Different Proposition and Begging at the Temple Gate called Beautiful. Steve Latin Nation was the drummer in that band, was he not?
Yes.
He was from the band Brighton.
Yes.
And I have that album. I love it. I never put two and two together until prepping for this interview. And then lo and behold, a double whammy of greatness. No Substitute came out in 2018.
Never did. Yes.
And it featured, and I never knew this because I'm a DeGarmo and Key fan, but Mike, For whatever reason, Altar Boys, when I got to see them, not Altar Boys, DeGarmo and Key, when I got to see them in 1988, Altar Boys went off the tour. Y'all never came to Arkansas, where I was at, where they came.
No,
So,
I don't think we got to Oklahoma. I think that was about it.
you don't know how deprived I felt. I didn't get to see you guys. So
I'm sorry.
that's okay. But I never knew that Mark Robertson, whenever Rick had left the band, I never knew that Mark Robertson came into the fold on bass. And he was from Brighton as well.
Yes.
I think it's pretty remarkable. I mean, I know.
Oh, it is. And Mark joined the band. You know, Rick was great. He felt it was time to leave. Bob Waller played with us for a while, and you know, it's just we kind of had a lot of rotating bass players. We had his first Ron, and then Rick. It just, you know, sometimes things just change. So Bob Waller played for us for a while. Then one day he just couldn't do it anymore. He was having kids. I mean, it literally happened that quick. Okay. And I called up Matt Chapman. I believe I called Matt Chapman, and I said, Matt, can you come with us? We're leaving tomorrow because Bob can't go. He goes, no, I can't, but why don't you call Mark Robertson? I can't come. He had another gig or something. So I called Mark literally the day before we were going to get on a plane. I said, hi, Mark, this is Mike Stand. Hey, we're leaving on tour tomorrow for a week. You want to come with us? He's like, what? So literally, we met him the next day at the airport, and he had stayed up all night and listened to our songs, and he played that Friday night. And Jeff, Steve, and I just looked at each other and went, oh my goodness, this guy, wow. He just brought an energy to the group. And he stuck, and he just was a real good guy and a real great bass player, and just really added some extra fire to the group. And I said, that's it. I'm writing a new record, and what I'm going to do with this record, I'm going to have all the anthems like we used to have when you're Rebel, but I'm going to make the lyrics just a little more sophisticated, you know, where I am now. Okay. And that's what I did with No Substitute. We started the project, but it just wasn't meant to be back in 91 and a little bit in 93.
So, Mike, all these years later, this came out in 2018. If you don't mind
Yes.
my asking, what was the catalyst for this coming out? I'm so glad it did. Why did it come to fruition in 2018?
Well, let me just say that it was unexpected. And I would see the tape and I'd say, yeah, it's too bad we didn't put out that record. Gosh, you know, that's too bad. You know, I'd see the tapes that we had, and you know, not meant to be, whatever. And then I got sick in 2017. I got real bad vocal nodules. I had to have surgery. It was real hard. Real dark time for me. So, because I couldn't talk, I couldn't sing, I couldn't talk. We do Altar Billies. I had to have a guy fill in and for us and play. I couldn't. When you have trauma to your vocal cords, the best is vocal rest, and that means no talking. And I go to the store, and people would think I was deaf because I couldn't talk. It was difficult for me, and I try to teach, and I would point to the chalkboard, and so I got the surgery, and I had to have a recuperation rate of 3 weeks. And during that time, I thought, well, you know, I just came to my mind. I thought, you know, why don't I pull out those No Substitute tapes? I got the time and just listen to them. So I pulled them out. I got my analog tape machine up working, and my son was home taking care of me. I mean, not that I was ill, but he was just, you know, family was watching over me. And I got everything working, and I started playing it. And my son wasn't in the room at the time, and he came in, Keith, he goes, Dad, what is that? No, I brought him in. I said, I pointed to it. I said, he goes, what's that, Dad? That sounds like you. That's really good. You might want to think about doing something about that. So I went ahead, him and I made rough mixes. And my son Keith is, many of you might know, he's a producer in LA and is doing very, very well. And I made these demos, basically just transferred it digitally and sent it to Steve and Mark and Jeff, just them. And so, what do you think? And they went, holy cow, well, you've got this? We still have this? Wow, we should finish it.
See them on the side of angels. Good news to everyone, and the people say you can't stop. No, you can't stop the rebel rock. It's a rebel of a message that shook this world. A rock in the corner that'll never move, and the people say you can't stop. No, you can't stop the rebel rock.
So I'm like, wow, we should finish it. Ooh, do I want to take this on? So we just began a slow process of finishing the record, not telling anybody, not making a stink about it, because we didn't know if we could do it. I didn't know if I had it in me to do it. I didn't know what it would take. And then when we were in the mixing process, we contacted Jeff at Low Fidelity Records at some point and said, are you interested? And we just started putting the pieces together slowly, but it was like one step, wait, one step, wait, pray, one step, wait, pray. And it was finally when we were actually in the mixing process that we went ahead and announced a Kickstarter. We got this record and it's a miracle. But here it is. And for me, there were good things about Forever Mercy, but that wasn't where I really wanted to end it. But No Substitute, I'm very proud of it. And it really put a good exclamation point at the end of the Altar Boys. That's the record I wanted to end with, the band with. And what a miracle. Who does that? What band does it after 25 years?
Altar Boys, baby.
Has a complete album.
Well, and
my
I really
son
was
produced it. He mastered it. He did such a great job. And the songs are good. And everybody came and helped out. Mark emailed us. He was working in Nashville and did all the overdubs. Jeff would come in. Steve came in. It was just a great process. And we're so proud of that record. So grateful. What a miracle. It's our miracle record.
Well, I was so excited, Mike, to see that there's a Kickstarter for that. I actually supported that.
Thank you.
We were, I know there's a lot of people excited to see that album completed.
Yeah, well, I was too. It was unbelievable. It really was. I mean, the fact that we have those songs, and then we did a concert. We did House of Blues. It was just amazing. It was just the right time. I never would have thought. Never would even popped in my head to finish this record. Never. I never thought, but it proved to be the right time, the right place, and the right thing to do.
So
all God's timing.
One question I do have about this wonderful album, Mike, because just from me having, read
it is a wonderful album.
It is. No, it really is. Yes. I'm not just saying.
No, I agree. Something else.
What I'm wondering is some of the, the tunes that you were talking about, the ones that you had around back in 91, were some of these songs, are these the actual, how do I say this right? Are these the actual original songs from the original tape that you guys have recorded?
That's a good question. Okay, that's my vocal. And that's some of the guitar and some of the background vocals. We started it, but didn't finish it. We added the drums, we added the bass. I added some extra rhythm guitars. Most of the lead solos I kept. We kept as much as we could of the original. All the original vocals. I didn't redo any of the vocals. I couldn't even sing like that. Those are original vocals.
Nice.
Pretty much original arrangements to everything. And we added drums, bass, and background vocals. And I added a little rhythm. I added some rhythm guitar, double the rhythms.
Well,
I
I'm
doubled
so-
leads in some place. So too.
So glad you did this, and I know countless of other Altar Boys fans are as well. But Mike, let me
Yeah.
ask you, taking nothing away from Altar Billies, which we're going to get into in a minute, but why does this have to be the last Altar Boys album?
Because it is.
You're
Sorry,
the
I
man.
don't know what else to say. I can't sing like that anymore. I
Oh,
just, you know, man, look at that. What do we got there? Let's celebrate what we got.
oh, I'm celebrating, baby. I'm celebrating.
It
But-
just is. It's.
I got you.
It's not
I
meant
got
to
you.
be, brothers.
Well, you
It's
tore it up
and it's
on
okay.
this. Say what?
It's okay, man. The Altar Boys live. Altar Boys will always be together.
Yeah, they will.
But we ain't gonna do no more records.
Well, I'm glad to have this as well. The Mercy.
Oh yeah, that's a
Thoughts.
good one. That's got some good songs on it.
Yo, yeah, got Full Circle, you know. And
Oh, that's a good record. That was a fun
Yeah.
one to make.
You
I
did
like
Platinum
that record.
Symbols
Work
there.
with Bobby. He was great to work with.
yeah.
Bobby Hartree was something else. You got
Mhm.
Steve Latination and Chuck on there. Mark played on there. Mark Robertson, Matt Chapman.
Gene Eugene
Rich
was the
Rankin.
co-producer.
That's a good. That's my son's favorite record. Is Full Circle.
When it all breaks down, falls apart, fades out like a star. Love stretches its arms from heaven to the heart. Breaks down, falls apart, fades out like a star. Love stretches its arms from heaven to the heart.
That brings us to Altar Billies. Now, I'll be honest, Mike. Altar Billies are relatively new to me because all these albums I had when I was a single man, and a lot
I
has
understand.
changed for me. But in 2010, you all had the self-titled CD, and I know that you did a. And friends, if you're not familiar with the Altar Billies, there's probably so many people are, but kind of a y'all describe yourselves as punk tree, half punk and half country and rockabilly.
Yeah, that was early. It's thing we gave us. We definitely love our rockabilly and
Yeah.
our
Y'all
country
did a,
Americana. Yes, definitely.
Y'all had a 2010 album, your eponymous Altar Billies album, and it had a remake of "You Found Me" on there, which was
Well, the band started as just kind of we were just going to originally just do Altar Boys songs. And so I said, well, Altar Billies, why not? Hindsight, I probably would have done a different name because it took on a life of its own. So, and I think some people felt a little bit upset that we changed it like that and sort of mocked Altar Boys. I didn't mean to. It was just that was originally what we're going to do. I had no idea I was going to start songwriting and do all these train songs and do all these Americana. I really did not have that on the radar. I wrote a first song called Hold On. I hadn't written anything in like 10 years, like anything substantial, I think. And then Hold On led to I'm Still Standing, which led to You Can't Look Up, Rock My Soul Alive, and all these songs just started coming out and we started doing them. Oh, we got a record here.
Good book says we can do all things. Nothing we can't climb. Go on, scream, go shout. Tell the world what it's all about. I sing it again, 'cause I'm all in. Yeah!
But obviously we did that first one, that Altar Billies with the cowboy on my Telecaster. But then I got a Gretsch in my hands. It just took a life of its own, and it was unexpected. Especially at my age, you don't get a chance to kind of reinvent yourself. Most people my age, just don't do new records or are just sticking with their genre. And I just sort of reinvented myself. It was nothing I planned. It just happened. I love
Well,
rockabilly. I love it.
And you certainly did, because, you know, with looking into it, some of your videos that you have, Union Pacific Railroad, Titans of the Wasatch, which is Ballad of the Big Boy, and I'm Still Standing, those actually have between over 100,000 and over 200,000 views, and it's
Oh yeah, our
amazing.
train songs, man. Our train songs. Notice we're not in it. They don't want to look at the old guys. Our train songs, like this new one I did, the C&O Railroad. It's just I knew it was a good one, and took a while to make. But once we did Titans of the Wasatch, I knew, okay, I am going to write train songs. You know, everything else, but I'm going to write some train. I can do this.
In the mountains of Kentucky, West Virginia, you'll find a Mallee and a valley, and it's 1309. Mallee and a valley, and it's 1309.
I can write about. Someone's got to do it, and I felt like it was kind of my job, because no one's writing real good new train songs. And I thought, this is something I need to do. We need to tell the story about some of these railroads. And I have a bunch of them you guys haven't heard yet, just sitting in the wings, waiting to go. I got one about Burlington Northern. I've got a friend who works for Burlington Northern. He keeps bugging me about putting that out, and that's been sitting around for 3 years. So yeah, I just enjoy doing the train songs.
Mm-hmm. It's a piece of
And all the
Americana.
gospel too, all the gospel ones,
Mhm.
all the real rockabilly ones. It's just great.
So Altar
It's like a
Billies
drug.
kind of reminds me, and I actually love this band. And Mike, I mean, you all have your own thing going. I'm not trying to say you sound just like another band, but
Yeah.
I'm reminded of the, you know, kind of the 50s type of style, such as the Stray Cats. You remember the Stray Cats back in the day?
Well, Setzer is
Mhm.
he's the top of the heap, man.
But it's good stuff. But you all in 2014, y'all released Heading Out West. In 2016, you released Long, Long Road, and your latest is All In, right?
Yeah, we just released it 2 weeks ago.
And
Yes.
so a brand new lyric video to Gone, and then God has an angel watching over me. Tell us about All In.
All through the day, hear the music play. Yeah, in the afternoon, humming another tune. Well, alright, just walking through the night. Yeah, let's go.
All In is the latest one. You know, it's leans more towards jazz billy stylistically and traditional rockabilly, but there are kind of some. We got a song called Shake a Rocka. I tried to be Creedence Clearwater, but I missed it. I tried. You know, it's this, the idea of being all in is all into our faith and all in it, all in together, and that the idea that nobody's excluded. We're all in this world together, and the best way to get through it is hope through Christ. There's several. This God has an angel that just started as I'm gonna write a song about an angel. I don't know what it's gonna be, but I'm gonna write a song about an angel, and that's what I came up with. It's sort of like GLM in a weird way. 3 different characters and 3 different scenes going on. The last, you know, but being very personal, kind of about me.
Whatever happens, I do believe God has an angel watching over me. God has an angel watching over me.
Gone was actually written at the time I wrote Big Boy. The same thing, the same time, 2013, and I didn't think it was a very good song, but our bass player said that's a good song. You need to include that one.
Johnny
So-
X.
The what?
It was Johnny X, your bass player.
Yeah, he said it was a good song. I kind of showed him what I did. I kind of bounce ideas, a lot of ideas. He's got a real good sense of, he's good, very musical sense, and knows which songs work. And I, you know, some things I show to him, he's like, I don't like that one. So I showed him Gone, and went, that's good. I said, that's not that good. Nah. He goes, no, it's good. We got to do that one. And it winds up being, we did a good job on that one. It was a tough one to produce, but really happy with the way this record came out. Especially, it took us a long time.
So
It took a long time to do. A lot of work.
friends, another little bit
Real
of
hard,
trivia.
real hard. This was a hard one. It was real hard. Harder than No Substitute in some ways. But my son Keith mastered it, and once he got involved, that really helped.
Friends, another little bit of interesting trivia for those who may not know, but the drummer for Altar Billies is Chuck Cummings, and you might remember a band from the early 90s, 93 actually. They were called Dakota, later Dakota Motor Company, Into the Sun, and but Chuck was the drummer for Dakota Motor Company.
Yes.
He drums with Altar Billies.
Yes, he's a good guy. So he's been playing since we had original gentleman. His last name was Cummings, and he didn't like rockabilly too much. And I invited Chuck, and Chuck's just an amazing drummer, amazing guy, amazing family. It's hard to find believers that like rockabilly and that want to play it, and that was important to us. Chuck's got a strong faith, as says Johnny, our bass player.
I'll tell you what, Mike, I hadn't heard any of those Altar Billies songs until just today, and I gotta say, I was really impressed with them. Really enjoyed them.
I worked really hard on them.
Yeah.
I'm a better guitar player than I was in Altar Boys, actually. Those lead lines are really hard. They're all thought out, and I think I wrote some of the best songs with Altar Billies. I mean, You Found Me, you know, those are all good tunes, but I just come so far with these songs and in my playing, and you know, just maturing as a person and as a songwriter. And I'd never take anything away from Altar Boys. I mean, You Found Me is just simple and it's great. 84, wrote it about 40 years ago. But some of the tunes I've written now, I'm really like, wow, that's a good one.
Well, you've been blessing
by the grace of God, man. By the grace of God.
You've been blessing us now for 40 years, and thank you so much, Mike, for your time. And that's part of this, is just finding out our favorite artist journeys, because it's intriguing me and it's intrigued Mike, I know, and Rex with Altar Billies. We've all, you know, us as fans, right? We all have different seasons of life with families and stuff, but we've all talked about, hey, listen, because, you know, the songs we've listened to Altar Billies, and it's like, okay, and so we want other people to know about this, you know, and continue.
It's legit. It's legit, even though it's called Altar Billies, but it's branded. I would have called a shoe, probably. It might have been better. I don't know, but it just kind of happened that way. I guess it was meant to be, but it's legit.
Yeah, you sound
And
great.
I'm very happy. I know I'm remembered for a lot of the Altar Boy stuff, but Titans of the Wasatch, that's kind of got its own thing going on there, and I think it's a song's gonna be remembered. And there's always the gospel message in that one. They always put a gospel, even though it's just about trains. There's always something in there.
Sure, I've caught some of that.
The gospel, if you maybe blatant, or maybe have to look into it a little bit, but always.
Well, you've been blessing us, Mike, for 40 years. You and the boys and the Billies and the cymbals.
Boys, the Billies, the flowers, and the trees, and the moon up above.
Everybody else. Mike, what's the best way for people to check out Altar Billies? Would it be facebook.com/Altar Billies?
Yeah, or we have Altar Billies here now. We also have altarboys.net, and we have a lot of history of the band on there. I try to stay up with the Altar Boys because it's important. I want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just keep it up information. But here now we have also just go to our YouTube channel.
Okay.
Altar Billies YouTube channel, Altar Boys YouTube channel. There's plenty there for everyone.
Okay.
Hope
Okay.
you
I
enjoy
will put-
trains too.
Yes, I will put links in the description below when this episode airs. And again, thank you so much, Mike.
What a treat. What a treat to have Jamie and to be talking about the music. Again, it's God gives us a talent and the abilities, and then it's up to us to water that seed and to take that seed. And I never would have thought I would be doing something like this or years later. I always thought that was other people that would be talking about their songs or having so many records or so many songs I've done. I've never would have thought that was me, that I would write 150 songs and people would be looking back and thanking me and acknowledging. So I appreciate that tells me that what I'm doing was the right thing, even though it was very difficult.
Do you,
By the grace of God, you do. It's never easy.
yeah.
You know, I was just thinking somebody should send him Railroad Song by Lisa Karen, you know.
Oh yeah, you can tell Mike about it.
Yeah, there's Lisa Karen is Michael Sweet's sister from Stryper, and she released a song within the last year here called Railroad Song, and it was written, I think, by Bill Mention, isn't that right?
Yes.
And anyway, it's this great song, and it's got all this railroad sounds and theme in it, and it just
Awesome.
And a gospel message.
yeah. So if one of you guys, you know, got his email or something, you could send it to him.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure I could. It's called Railroad Song. Janet.
Railroad Song, yeah,
Okay.
by
look
Lisa
that up.
Karen, Caron, yeah.
Yeah. Great.
So,
Cool.
Mike, we always kind of as you taught us, you and the boys through the music, to acknowledge the Lord, you know, in everything we do, because we are rebels of the truest kind. But we always like to close out each episode with a word from Scripture. And Mike Tift, our co-host, he's an ordained minister, and he always reads from the Word. And if you don't mind when he finishes, please just stick around for one more minute, okay?
Sure.
All right, take us home, Mike.
All right. So my choice in scripture today really came out of what I talked about earlier about the influence that Altar Boys had on me when I was a teenager, getting that album When You're a Rebel, you know, needing to be different in a world that didn't want me to be different. So that led me to 1 Peter chapter 1, verses 13 through 16, which say, "Therefore, with minds that are alert and fully sober, set your hope on the grace to be brought to you when Jesus Christ is revealed at his coming. As obedient children, do not conform to the evil desires you had when you lived in ignorance, but just as he who called you is holy, so be holy in all you do. For it is written, be holy because I am holy."
Amen. I'm reading 1 Peter today.
Yeah.
One of my favorite books, 1 Peter and 2 Peter. Thank you.
Yep.
Well, I'm a rebel because I read from the book of Mark today. So,
Oh, there you go.
Mike, if you don't mind, buddy, just stick around for one more minute. And thank you for blessing us. And congratulations to you and to Rick Alba and to Jeff Crandall and Steve Paneer and all the Altar Boys on 40 years. And thank you also to Clash of Cymbals, and keep rocking Altar Billies.
To Rob. By the way, we have a song Rob and I did on this new Altar Billies records from Clash of Cymbals. Just want to let you know that.
Very cool. Friends, thank you for watching, and we'll see everybody later. Take care.
Union Pacific Railroad. Union Pacific Railroad.
God gave rock and roll to you, gave rock and roll to you, put it in the soul of everyone.
Your volume's a little low, Jamie.
Let's see, how do I fix that?
Can we Can you crank up the volume, Jamie, where it's hard to hear you?
Hold on, let me put my old man glasses on.
There we go.
That's better right there.
Hold on. Is that better?
Yeah.
That's wonderful.